talking. That's proven research. So with me today, I have the pleasure to have a young person. You know, one of the things that gives me wings in the role I do is to mentor and communicate and work with young people. And this young lady, we've been chatting and engaging for a couple of years now, right? On the side, you know.
Yes.
And I have with me Miss Katura Nelson, a young lady in our community, up and coming. I have great aspirations, and I know what the future can look like when you make certain moves. And I see her making the moves, you know. I love it, you know. So tell us, who is Katura? Who are you, young lady?
Okay. Hello, good day, everyone. Thank you, Miss Collingwood. I'm Katura Nelson. I go to UVI. I'm studying agriculture.
Good stuff. Well, how you got here? What high school you went to?
Okay, I went to Central and I transferred to Synchro Educational Complex for volleyball. And the hurricane came, so that kind of shifted everything.
So stop. In high school, what was your focus? Did you have a career concentration? Did you have an interest? What did you see yourself doing in life?
I was concentrated on sports medicine and those things.
Okay.
And after graduating high school, I went to college to pursue physical therapy, and that's the route I was going. And it wasn't really going. I didn't stick with it, and I left college, and I started working with Upper Class OG LLC.
So stop. Why you didn't stick with it? What it is? You didn't like it? It was too challenging? It was boring? You didn't like the space? You didn't like what they were wearing? What was it?
Okay, for one, it was during the pandemic, so it was online, and I didn't necessarily like that type of talking to my professors, especially since it's my first time going to school.
Yes.
Talking to my professors through the screen. I like to ask questions, and I don't feel very engaged. And just like the type of lifestyle that I'm on, I was always on the move anyways, and just not having that place to just sit and focus was somewhat of a struggle.
Okay.
And after working with Upper Class OG.
What's Upper Class OG? I mean, Upper Class OG. Yes. Sounds kind of cool. Tell me.
Yes, they're so great. Upper Class OG is a youth organization, and their mission is to cultivate healthier lifestyle for all of humanity. So they go out there and push their lifestyle and push their beliefs through apparel and movements, and just going out there and just having events for people. And working with that, I was making money, and me being a youth, like younger than I am right now, I was like making money, so I was like big headed, like I only going to school to make money, so like I don't need it.
Making money already.
Yeah.
Are you making millions or what? You got big.
I wasn't even making no bit. Hey, like looking back at it now, it was really funny how that whole thing went, because it wasn't no big load sum of money that different story.
You still have to depend on your parents. They pay rent, they buy you toilet paper.
Yeah. I still holding it down a little bit, but yeah. So I did leave school with that mindset, and plus my biology teacher had told me, everything that we're teaching you is only through theory, no one ever knows. And that kind of like baffled me. So it was just a lot of things, but mostly because I was living an other fast-paced lifestyle, and academics wasn't really in mind.
So what happened? What caused the switch? What happened? You
Yes.
bumped your head somewhere?
I ran into Miss Collingwood, really.
And bumps your head.
Yes. And you taught me, you brought me into agriculture, into the office at first, and working with seeing how things get done, that things actually take preparation and work and years of work to get just like an event done. And from that, working on the companion garden and on the Vita grounds, and just doing that whole process, it really showed me that things could get done with just effort and teamwork, and that's all you need for things to be completed.
Yes.
And after realizing how important food is through that whole process, being around agricultural folks and people who embrace that, I saw how important it was. And then sometimes listening to the news, you hear scary things that's happening in the world, with the whole war and food scarcity, water scarcity by 2025, and it's just like, we need to do something, global warming, everything just seems like it's getting so crazy. So I felt like the closest thing to a solution was finding out about agriculture, and especially after working on Raising Cane with when they had that whole contradicting craziness with the community and what Raising Cane was doing, I felt like out of the loop because I didn't have too much knowledge on what was going on, and I couldn't, what I was saying, it didn't have much credentials, it didn't have much backup because I wasn't educated on the matter. So I felt I might as well go get educated on stuff so I know what is going on.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's why I'm here. That's why I went back to school. And
wow, you hear that, people? First you said, that's very profound to me. Things can get done through effort and teamwork, you know? And I always say, you know, all this complaining, all this talking about agriculture, I always say, talk, don't cook rice, and you need to get some work done. I mean, agriculture is not the thing you talk all day about. You talk to share practices, and you talk to encourage and stimulate and motivate. But when it comes to the work of agriculture, that's an action verb. You gotta get out there and do it. And the more you could engage others with the right skills to make it flow easily, the more success we would have. And it takes technical experience, contrary to popular belief. If you know exactly how to do something and know the different outcomes that could result because of the effort you put in, then it's easier to do it as opposed to just hit and miss, you know? And agriculture is not a hit and miss because you're gonna lose time, you lose effort, you lose money, you know? So learning strategies does make a difference. So what's your hope in agriculture? And we go to University of the Virgin Islands, right? Yes, the School of Agriculture at the UVI.
Yes.
And tell me about that experience and what class are you taking and how are you engaging with your classmates and things. What's happening there?
Okay, well, I started off with Intro to Agriculture with Dr. Annette James and General Horticulture with Dr. Saha. And they're great teachers. They get the message across efficiently, and I understand those things, and they're open to questions, and you could go in on campus. Even though those classes are online, it's still very engaging because now I have a different perspective on knowledge and how to intake it, and I'm just really there to learn. Yeah. And so it's a great opportunity to be there. It's nice. And
but what hands-on? What's your hands-on experiences, and how does that help you to understand the message or the what you're learning in class better? Tell me about those experiences. Right now.
Even though it's online, we have labs. So we go out there into the our own field and find out whatever the assignment is, and just get our hands on them for whatever it is, and that's a fun experience. I don't mind doing those things. It's always such a task.
Talk about other projects you're engaged in.
After agriculture at UVI, I'm also a part of the Red Cross and Vita Companion Garden on Vita grounds, and that's great. I work with Lydia Carbet and Avia Joseph. That's honestly a great experience. It's really fun working with them.
What y'all doing? I'm working doing what?
So Miss Collingwood
Stop it.
So developed this companion garden foodscape, which it's a little landscape. It's artistic because it looks like it's the shape of St. Croix, it's the outline of St. Croix, and all the plants and crops on that garden help each other grow through whatever hormones or chemicals they're spraying off into each other. And they just help each other grow because they're friends. It's a companion garden, it's a friendship garden, and they're all growing together. So, for example, they will have marigolds on the edges to stop insects, and then whatever the basil does for the tomato, and whatever the tomato does for the cassava. And it's just a great experience, and that's been there from February.
What are you doing in the
greenhouse? We're working with other plants. There's a bunch of other things in there, like dasheen, Tanya's, more cassava, breadfruit, and we're just tending to those plants and watering them and make sure that they stay healthy, and whenever they're ready to go into the ground, they could do that, or whenever they're ready to give away, they're also ready for that. And it's great. It's a great experience working outdoors and being with other folks who like outdoors, and the conversations are always so nice, and it's so peaceful, and it's a great experience.
So Ms. Nelson, you're in your early 20s, right? So what do you envision for the future of the agricultural sciences in the territory for the next 20, let's say 30 years, 35 years from now? How do you, tell me what you see.
Well, I see agriculture in schools from as low as preschool. Honestly, I see agriculture is mandatory. It's pushed, and it's you could see it on the side of the roads when you're driving past. You don't see unproductive farms. You see food growing. You see food security. You see big water tanks places. So because we have water security now, and we see more people involved. We see a loadsome of healthy people. There's more healthy people walking around. Children are in the fields with their school uniforms on, and most of the products in the grocery stores are hopefully locally grown, and that there's a lot more businesses running from those agricultural sources, whether it's not even just produce. It could be tea bags, you could make smudges, it could go into cosmetic products, it could
pancake mix.
Pancake mix. It could go into anything.
Cosmetics.
Yes.
Technology.
Restaurants. New engineering.
Yes.
Technologies, and just everything. Everything could be done in the 35 years if we really push. I see the drive.
I like, when I say 35 years, because in reality, in my career, it took 35 years for people to realize. And yesterday at the conference, this man got up there and say, why now? Why is it now they realize that this needs to happen?
Right now, because everything is hectic, and they see that
fire hot.
Yes,
hot.
Exactly. And the only way to cool it down is through thinking. And people are finally thinking, because obviously agriculture is the answer. I don't know so much, but
Yes.
out of all the things out there, it seems to have that mindset on nature, and actually using nature to minimize, or not minimize, just help. It's just so
Yes.
deep, and it's honestly so crazy, and I try not to get too much into what is happening in the world to save myself from being scared, because I don't feel like that's where my focus needs to go into. But agriculture is the way. We need food. We all know that we need food to survive. We need water to survive. We all good with being indoors. We're indoors all the time, and from us being indoors, we see what it's doing to the outdoors, and we just need to do better as a community.
Thank you. Well, you see, and that's the great thing about agriculture. When you start training young people, I can imagine if you had agri-science in pre-K, and you understand since you were a third grader how to propagate plants and how it comes naturally, you have a natural love and joy for it. You learn about business parts of agriculture. You know to have a lemonade stand or a peanut stand, and you're there every Saturday at 10 a.m. with your warm peanuts or whatever and you have that ethic, and you're growing up with that. Now, as an adult, you will be so independent and able to do so much. So as ag educators, we train the army, and we sit back and we send them out, and they go out, they meet with legislatures. Those young people, they're so articulate. They could be better. We can train them at a young age to be better than us. Do you know that? Really, they have the capacity, but they need guidance and mentoring, and you have to keep your hand on the pulse. Because like a computer, they can go a little wary. You got to keep your hand. You have to keep them, but you have to meet them at their level. And when you do so, they are very vital to our success. And could you imagine doing that in every career area, in the health sciences, where we're mentoring them early? Because although we can have agriculture from early, we could also start doing health initiatives from early. We could do business initiative, finance initiative, anything, any career you think you want to deal with, you could start early, and the youth will absorb that. They're like sponges. They're just a product of what we invest in them. So, and that's my thing personally. That's like, what's the point me working so hard and I don't have nobody like you to continue what I started?
Because the older heads can't do everything. Y'all need help.
Y'all need help. And talking about help, last week we talked about farmers out there, that they need help. Then you know how much, we had a few okra plants. Well, we had like about a dozen okra plants, less than a dozen. And we always had a hard time doing what?
What? Harvesting?
Yes.
Because of
always
the pest?
We're not picking them in time. They always have old okra. And the thing about it is, there's no point growing food and then letting it stay on the vine
Mm-hmm.
or on the plant and go to waste. We need to pick them, and it's consistent harvesting, and that has made more food grow when you harvest consistently. So farmers need friends. Farmers need
Yeah,
people, hands.
they need the community to eat their food. The
Yes.
community to change their diet.
Yes,
if
yes,
that's
yes.
the case.
Yes.
And
And
the food to
things
go
like
somewhere,
that
it needs
is
to be
what we would
consumed.
plan to do with like the forestry grant. Maybe create groups of individuals who can help harvest food and, you know, do stuff that we could get a business to get a stand, and they would go over the island and talk to this neighbor and maybe pay a fee to use trees for Mr. Williams have a big mango tree in his front yard just wasting. So we go to Mr. Williams with respect. Good morning, sir. I'm so and so, and would you be interested in me paying you like $200 for if it had to be a real lot of fruit on his tree. Say $100 for the next month or so, and we would come respectfully, and we wouldn't do any damage. We'll harvest the fruit. We pick up all the wasted fruit on the ground, and you can pick some, but don't pick all the fruit and go sell it. But we can make agreements across island in communities like that, and then have, you know, grade the fruit, have different size together, different colors together, and young people are good at that. And even going out and scouting for pests, you can teach a group of 6 students how to go out on a farm and look for different pests, signs of coming pest invasions, and then the farmer can stop it before it even starts. And that's a whole job where people go out and scout, and they can get paid a little fee, or they harvest a certain amount of crops so you can sell somewhere or something like that. But these things are happening in the world, and we can do it, and we need to organize and centralize and make it happen.
Yeah, and it's just about getting those people together, getting those whoever is going to be doing, getting into the schools, you know, getting into some type of facility, because it's just no one's together on it yet. So it's
yet.
to build the
Yet. We have to keep saying yet, you know, because
it will.
yeah, like we were saying again at the conference, the gentleman was saying, what if all these years when we were talking about this needs to happen, they were listening, but they just couldn't figure out a way, or maybe the need didn't quite arise. But people have been working on this, and there are people out there who have been prepared. I have students out there from when I taught at Artie Richards in 1985, 86, and they have a fierce love for agriculture. They're all engaged on some level, even if they don't necessarily work, and many of them work in agriculture. So when you plant those seeds with students, and I see at Claudio Marco School, the principal there, Dr. Wendy Gonzalez, she has a strong engagement practice that she does with agriculture. She does an urban forest with students, and those students, they are learning things that will value them years from now.
Yeah,
so those little things do count, you know?
They do.
Yeah, so tell me about your studies. What's your career path, and what's next for you in agriculture at UVI?
Okay, well, just yesterday I applied for new classes, and I decided that I would be, UVA right now doesn't have a major in agriculture.
No, there's you're doing the general agriculture, but you're just kind of going for the associates at this time, possibly.
I'm going for a bachelor's, but I think like I'm going to be
okay.
going to a bachelor's in fine arts and getting an associate's in general horticulture, in horticulture.
Okay.
So.
And we can talk more about that too, and look, because I have to tell you, it's not just about going to school, you know. You have to kind of map your career pathway and the courses you take. Even the electives, you could plan to take electives so you have a concentration in a specific area. And you know, it's not just going to school. You really have to study this thing and work with counselors. And even if you don't work with counselors, just work with me. Work with people. I mean, like people who can counsel students and guide them through career pathways and what's the next step, so you can get where you want to go.
That. UVI, I feel like UVI. I've had a good experience with the counseling over there. Like Miss Fleming. Miss Fleming does really well with working with the students, and she explained to me yesterday that there's this new program in UVI where you could basically set up your classes how you want to. You just have to have 45 credits to your focused area, which for me would be agriculture. So I thought that was so cool how you could just build up your academic style there.
But thank you, Ms. Fleming, and great, because counseling is critical to student success, you know. And not just counseling, but the right counseling to meet the student's personal need for the most part, you know. Now tell me about, since you've been in the School of Agriculture, have there been any opportunities that were made available to you that you wouldn't ordinarily come across that you think is of value?
Yes, for sure. Being a part of UVI and just in the group of people that I'm in, I've been able to participate in recently the AMPS Entrepreneurship Retreat. which was an absolute experience. That was so
first
great.
Weekend in November.
Yes.
On my birthday, and I missed it. But tell me how that worked. We were planning it for a long time.
That was so great because it was a bunch of people at first that I did not know. I came in there with two friends. We all got involved together, so we planned to go there and pitch our own idea together.
But what was it? What would it look like? What is a day, a week, a month, or
It was 30 hours.
30 hours.
You'll say a day and you think it was like, from 8 a.m. when you come up and then you go back to the hotel at 4 o'clock. But no, we've been out there from at least 7 a.m. to like 1 o'clock in the morning doing straight work,
Yes.
and it was great. I'm saying this as if it was some strenuous thing, which in some cases it was a challenge, but it was an uplifting challenge. Like, it was so crazy to see that we're actually able to do this. I actually here doing something on the computer and actually doing work at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's crazy.
What was this? It was a leadership retreat,
It
right?
was a leadership and entrepreneurship retreat, and it was showing us strategies on how to bring up an efficient and productive business and how to plan it out from the beginning and how to start it up, basically, and how to start it up right.
And just so you know, it was sponsored by the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, the national office in DC. And go ahead, it was 3 days, and where was it held?
It was held at we slept at Tamareef Resort, but it was held at UVI and Seda Farms.
Right, okay. That's great. So it was a great experience. And out of that, whoop-de-doo, what happened? What have you personally gained from as a professional?
I've learned that you can't be too comfortable in things. You have to get uncomfortable in order to grow.
Yes.
I said I was going in there with friends. We said we was going to do this, and we was all upset when we had to disperse into new groups of people that we didn't know, and we were a little upset at first. But then as we got to know our groups, we said, wow, these are also like-minded youths who we could all benefit from each other and learn from each other, and then that was something big for me.
Great. And from this community, with young people from this community as well?
Yeah, all from the different schools, Central, Complex, Free Will, UVI.
Great.
And it was great. Learning how to, and it was a mindset thing is really what it was. It was knowing that you're able to do something and making the time and driving yourself to actually do it. Because, I suffer from procrastinations a bit, and doing all of that, it made me see, if I minimize on that, how much of a different person I would be.
And so, in agriculture, the whole focus of youth engagement is to have students realize that working together with other people with different ideas, people you might not be able to stand, that's like what is required the most from workforce. It's not enough to know how to do your job, but you really have to know how to work with others without having an attitude and accepting others' ideas and differences and listening more and those type of things, and just relationships to build so you can be prepared for the workforce, and when you get on the job you prepare to work with different people, and you don't have any attitude, and that helps to make progress in the workplace. And that's what you teach them you teach them agriculture, but it's heavy on the leadership skills, the ethical skills, the civic skills,
diplomacy.
Those type of things. And that's what leads to success in any field, in any career area.
And give thanks to AMPS, give thanks to Red Cross and VITA and everybody who really contributes to the youth and developing them and bringing them up, It really gives me hope. It really gives me hope that things are really moving up for the community, the Virgin Islands, the world, and seeing all these things happen is really a beautiful thing.
Oh, well, it's great. I mean, and this is my first interview on the radio with a young person. But then again, this year, one of the first young people I started engaging with. And I try to capture the minds and encourage and always ask students what you're doing, what can you do different, how we can help, and just try to give them pointers and just let them know they need to have that confidence to pursue excellence. Because sometimes we don't try to realize our own potential because we just don't know how, we kind of shy. But I know we all are geniuses, and when we mentor and engage them and encourage them early, it helps them to really realize their true potential. It's a beautiful thing that we all benefit from. I want to give you an update on the seniors farmers market distribution we were talking about earlier with Ms. Maxine on St. Croix. That will be held December 2nd and December 16th. Those are both Saturdays, I believe. I'm not looking at my calendar. and then on St. Thomas and St. John, it will be held on December 23rd, just before Christmas. December 2nd, yes, it's a Friday. December 2nd is a Friday, as well as December 16th is the next Friday after that, like, there's the 9th and then the 16th and on the 23rd in St. Thomas, St. John. And it mentioned here on a Friday at the grounds, all Fridays. So we look forward to that, and as you see, we love our seniors. We pay homage to our seniors. We respect and value the knowledge and skills they have because they're seniors, and it's great that we can do this program for them. I really want to thank again Mr. Billy Abraham for the efforts he had made in developing and working on the specialty crop grant, and I am looking forward to the true value that marketing, through the American Marketing Service and the USDA could bring to our island, our territory. Now it's time for mega dollars, millions of dollars, and we have to set our place self in a position by engaging the young people so we take advantage of those big dollars and develop training programs for you all so you all could run things in agriculture and realize those dreams you talk about. And like you said, things can get done through effort and teamwork. That's what we're pushing for. Do we have any callers? Come. I want people to call in and talk about DARE. I want to give you all some of the tips I learned recently that help with DARE. One of the things they talked about in terms of DARE repellents, the best homemade ones, everything has to do with strong smells. So they talk about all type of different things they use, but the most recent one I heard that this gentleman I met in Seattle, he had a product he was selling, which was a great product, and I brought some home and I'll share with farmers when they come into my office and maybe get a few to pilot it. It's called a diaper, a plant diaper, and it's essentially a circular thing. It has a slit so you can open it up, and it's like tarp, like shade cloth, and in there it has like maybe fabric like a diaper, but it absorbs, but it also releases the water at a slow pace. So you can plant a new tree and place this around the base of the plant and put some mulch over it, and then that waters the plant slowly releases the water over a period of weeks. And then you can come back one time and re-water. Some of them may hold up to 60 gallons of water, and it just sits there, and then you could be assured that that plant is watered consistently. And also after it lasts for 5 years, and you can move it from one plant. Once the plant reaches that stage where you don't have to worry about it so diligently, you move it to other plants. And I'm still looking at pricing to see if it is worth, because I haven't engaged in shipping. This is something we'll discuss and probably bring to you. But back to this. He was talking about those chlorine pool tablets. I haven't tried it, but he says that if you drill a hole in those big pool tablets, and I can envision drilling a hole, I think it would crumble, but he insists it would not. And then you put a string through it, and you put it along the perimeter of your field, and you distance them just as long as the deer is from nose to tail, or not tail spread open, but tail hanging down. And supposedly when the deer sniffs that, it turns around and it runs. It doesn't like that space, and that's interesting to me. They also, in general, when you research on deer repellents, it speaks to the fact that you should use a variety of practices, and you rotate those practices, trying different things. Some of the things like vinegar with 8 ounces with peppermint drops and rosemary oil drops and things like that. They mentioned in the research I did that bar soaps in socks is not as effective. The soap has to be really fragrant and have a lasting smell. Things like people talk about using wolf urine and fabric softener sheets. I mean, it's how long the wolf urine would stay smelly, and where you can get the wolf urine from, and maybe other animals that may be a predator for the deer might be something. But they talk about the bags of hair you use and the blood meal you use. Those type of things are things you might put in a rotation, you know. There are other odors that deer react negatively to that or may confuse their smell or their olfactory, like they say. Rotten eggs is a proven strategy that is used in a lot of the items on market, you know. Rotten eggs, garlic, mint, clove, hot pepper sprays, ammonia soaked rags. But apparently the egg-based products are considered to be the most effective. Things also like heavily fragrant foliage, you know, planting certain type of plants in your garden or in the areas where the deer emerge from, you know, having those there, because they say deer eat with their nose first, you know, and you confuse their smell and that discourages feeding. Things like flowering herbs, including sage and thyme and lavender and oregano and catmint and things like that, maybe might find success. And especially plants with prickly, hairy, fuzzy foliage, fuzzy leaves, they help to deter deers as well. And maybe planting them where they emerge out of the bush or the vegetation and come onto your farm. That could be considered. But keep in mind, like zoos in the mainland, nowadays the trend is not to fence around deer. You have to have a tall fence, of course. But they use rock beds because apparently they don't like to walk on uneven surfaces. So they usually have like a wide enough barrier, like maybe 6 to 8 feet, to prevent them from leaping over it. But because again they dislike uneven surfaces and they usually tend to avoid such spaces, that seems like a lot to ask for you to have uneven surfaces around your garden. But then it depends on how desperate you are and how valuable that crop may be at the time. So just some considerations, and those are some of the things I have found when I research deer repellents. But it would have been great if anyone else out there has, and we're almost done with our show anyway, but maybe next week some of you all could call in and share some of the successes or failures you've had with some of these practices or other practices you may be familiar with. Since you're here, Ms. Nelson, and we're getting ready to close our show in approximately 2 minutes, and 2 minutes is a long time. What can you say to add, and what would you say to encourage other young people who, especially those who don't think agriculture is a place for them in agriculture and may not even notice the value of engaging in agriculture? What would you say to them?
I'll say just do it for yourself, you know, in reality, because you need food. So I feel like that should be the driving force behind why you do it. Just know that the way your food is coming from is not organic. They are pumping stuff in the food that we're eating. Fast food is not the way that you need to go. Anything that is not homegrown, everything that is not organic is not what you need to be eating. And with that, just know that the world is getting crazier and they're desperate. You know, it's 8 billion people in the world. You know, it's overpopulated. Some people are probably trying to get rid of other folks. They only get to us from what we eat and what we drink, and we have to be mindful for those things. And just grow your own food so you know where your food is coming from. Talk to your farmers.
I'm here like, I don't have to say it, and to hear a younger person say it and say it so profoundly. You see, we have to be thankful. We give thanks and we're blessed, and we need to nurture them. So I thank you today. It was another lovely day, another lovely fresh from the farm. And we have the young people need to come in fresh from the farm. And we thank you. So thank you for this opportunity. Support agriculture, eat healthy food, nutritious food, so you can live long, healthy, prosperous lives. And tribute to our elders, our seniors. You know, we love you, we wish you well, we wish you the best. Eat good, healthy foods for you too. Could live long and prosper. Blessings to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. It's Collingwood. Hey.